In the heart of Siberia, a place of science and learning, Akademgorodok was gripped by a terror it couldn't comprehend. For 5 months, from November 2010 to April 2011, a shadow stalked its quiet streets. The victims were random: a boy, a scientist, a homeless person. The weapon of choice was brutal in its simplicity: a hammer. The press dubbed them the Hammer Killers. But the truth was far more chilling. The monsters weren't faceless strangers. They were 2 teenagers from the neighborhood, whose descent into murder began not in back alleys, but in the darkest corners of the internet. This is the story of Artyom Anufriyev and Nikita Lytkin. To understand the crimes, we must first look at the criminals. Artyom Anufriyev, born in 1992, and Nikita Lytkin, a year younger. On the surface, they were unremarkable, but beneath, they were deeply broken. Artyom grew up without a father, under the domineering influence of his mother. She taught him to despise authority, constantly battling his teachers. He was an outcast until his final school years. Nikita was even more isolated, abandoned by his father, pathologically shy, and unable to fit in. His school nickname was Jimbo, after a violent cartoon character. They found solace only in each other, forming a toxic, codependent friendship. Their outlet was music, a chaotic, aggressive, noise-core project. Their lyrics were a torrent of obscenities and glorification of violence. It was a digital cry for help, a warning sign no one heeded. Their nihilism found structure in the darkest subcultures. Anufriyev briefly associated with neo-Nazi groups, but even they were too soft for his burgeoning hatred. He and Lytkin were inspired by a rogues gallery of Russian serial killers: Alexander Pichushkin, Andrei Chikatilo, and the Dnepropetrovsk maniacs. They saw them not as monsters, but as idols. Their motive wasn't robbery or sex. It was a desire for power, to feel like gods deciding who lived and died. As Anufriyev would later write online, "We are gods. We decide who lives and who dies." The stage was set. Their spree began with brutal but non-fatal attacks. They would scout the route between 2 bus stops, searching for the perfect victim, alone, vulnerable. Their first murder was a 2-year-old boy, Danila Semyonov. They later chillingly admitted they were just practicing. Their methods were consistent: a blow to the back of the head with a hammer or mallet, followed by a frenzied attack with knives. They recorded audio of one murder and video of another, where they mutilated the corpse, attempting to cut off ears and gouge out eyes. They were creating snuff content for their own perverse gratification. As the body count rose, panic engulfed Akademgorodok. Residents formed vigilante patrols. The police were under immense pressure, but they were looking for a lone, adult maniac. They never suspected the quiet teenagers living among them. The investigation took a dark turn. An innocent homeless man, Vladimir Basilevsky, was arrested, tortured into a false confession, and convicted for one of the murders. It was a catastrophic miscarriage of justice. The break came not from brilliant police work, but from a family's horrifying discovery. In April 2011, Nikita Lytkin's uncle borrowed his video camera. What he found on the memory card was the footage of the murder and mutilation of Alevtina Koydina. On the 5th of April 2011, Artyom Anufriyev and Nikita Lytkin were arrested. The reign of terror was over. The trial revealed the full depth of their depravity. The evidence was overwhelming: 6 murders and 11 attempted murders. But in court, their dynamic unraveled. Anufriyev, the supposed leader, tried to shift the blame, claiming Lytkin was the real instigator. Lytkin, in a bizarre twist, briefly tried to claim there were other accomplices, only to recant. It was a pathetic spectacle of two broken souls turning on each other. In April 2013, the verdict was announced. Artyom Anufriyev, deemed the more culpable, was sentenced to life imprisonment. Nikita Lytkin, who was a minor for most of the crimes, received 20 years. The different sentences left many families of the victims feeling that justice was not fully served. The story of the Akademgorodok killers didn't end with the slam of a prison door. Artyom Anufriyev was sent to Vologda Piatak, a notorious prison for the worst of the worst. He remains there, unrepentant. Nikita Lytkin's path was more tragic. Diagnosed with a severe mental disorder, he never found peace. In prison, he attacked a fellow inmate, hoping to be transferred to be with his only friend, Anufriyev. On the 30th of November 2021, Nikita Lytkin was found in his cell with slit wrists. What began as a toxic friendship, born of alienation and hatred, ended in lonely, self-inflicted death. The case of Anufriyev and Lytkin is a harrowing cautionary tale for the digital age. It shows how isolation, toxic online influences, and a desperate search for identity can curdle into unspeakable violence. They weren't born monsters. They were forged by neglect, fueled by hateful ideologies, and connected by a bond that celebrated destruction. A reminder that sometimes the most profound evil doesn't come from the outside, but grows in the quiet, familiar places we call home. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you found this interesting. Your support helps us tell these complex stories. See you again.